show it on these tours. They're doing the custom pics, like the
Okay.
Montauk Lighthouse on the back of it.
Yeah, I bet you it does.
But the days when Philadelphia had the Liberty Bell on
All
it.
right, we'll get started. I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. Please rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the May 18th, 2017 Planning Board Work Session, Town of Riverhead. First item on our agenda today is a discussion item for GenDOT Associates for property on Middle Road. How are you, Mr. Cuddy?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
This has been on a number of times, but there's one item that's a problem, and the item is the .98 Pine Barrens credit. Mr. Ehlers and I have had a lot of discussions. We're still ongoing. I don't think he's here. So I don't want to take advantage of it, but our position has been that you could change .98 to 1. Mr. Ehlers doesn't think you can do that. I think for several reasons you can. But in any event, we would like the board to pass the resolution. We can always come back sometime and ask you to amend it, but we think it's important that it get finally passed
Okay.
in its present form.
The way it is now, which,
That's right, and we'll have that point in it, and if we have to, we'll fight about that later. But it's more important, I think, that it finally gets passed. And I
Okay.
can deal with Mr. Ehlers later.
Yeah, it wasn't my understanding that we were gonna pass the resolution.
yeah, it wasn't on our agenda to do that.
Discussion.
No, I understand, but if the board was able to do that, I would appreciate it. If they can't, would they put it on for the next meeting to do it, so it just gets done?
I'm sure we can have that issue ironed out. in the
Yeah,
next 2 weeks.
eventually, it's gonna be ironed out one way or the other, but it's just that one single issue, so if the board could put that
We just got a
on.
note from Dick,
Okay,
I
memo.
believe you got a letter from.
Right, we got a
Yeah.
memo from our attorney stating that we don't have the authority to make
No.
that call.
I think you do, and that was why he and I disagreed, so we're
Okay.
going back and forth.
We have
but-
to go with the advice of our
And
counsel.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, I know that was so, that I wasn't asking you to change it today, I was just saying we'll come back and do that, but if you would put it on and get it passed, and then we'll deal with that later.
Okay, so at our next meeting, we'll have
I'll
it on
put
the agenda.
Okay, if you would, and
Sure.
I appreciate it, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is, I think that one sentence, Charlie,
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
one sentence is said in here that we don't have the authority to amend the town board special permit.
Yeah, well,
So,
he and I disagree as to what you're amending, so that's what the fight is over. Because I think you can vary things and waive them, and I think it's part of the planning board's process. We disagree.
okay.
But that will be back to that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is 452 Main Road. Application to renovate a two-story, single-family house, Main Road in Aquabog.
Good afternoon. Grace from KSNS Prime Engineering.
I'm Amanda Feldman.
Just one more time, she didn't hear.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Grace here from
Prime Engineering.
NMM.
And I'm the owner of the property.
Okay, everyone should have gotten the staff report on the project. I have extras if anybody wants an extra copy. Basically, it's an existing house that, they wanna convert into a restaurant on the first floor and add a second floor apartment. It would be, approximately 12-seat restaurant. So it's 2.53 acres on the north side of Main Road, approximately 1,250 feet east of Union Avenue in the Hamlet Center zoning district. Parcels to the west and the north are vacant. There's a farm stand and greenhouse on the parcel to the east and a nursery across Main Road. Basically, I don't know if the board might remember, there was a old, kind of decrepit yellow house on the property. And we had done a site plan for conversion of that into a antique store years ago. I guess it was too far gone. So it was demolished in 2005. A new building permit for a single-family residence was issued in early 2016. And then we had a pre-application meeting for conversion to commercial use. They did put in a commercial sanitary system as part of the initial construction. So most of the issues, I think, are fairly innocuous. They did show on the plans that a portion of the basement will be finished, and we were under the impression that it was going to be an unfinished basement. So we would ask that they include that in the parking calculations, and then they would need one more parking stall. I think they can manage to fit it in if they move the dumpster enclosure.
I guess if I may speak.
Sure.
I guess I spoke to her about it, and she's okay with that. I guess it's the question about, the restriction. I guess she's okay with that as well.
Right, I mean,
You
they'd
guys
have to
are
get it
really okay.
emptied when they were in operation, and we have done that before
And then I
in some
guess
other
we'll put it
applications.
Here, if that's the case, somewhere here, right?
Mm-hmm. That would be the only
Like on
location.
an angle.
As far as the entrance, I guess there were some issues with the DOT because they're kind of constrained and it's close to the property line. I just wanted to make sure this kind of angular cutout here was okay with the planning board, and they did provide me with an email, I believe, from
Yes, from
DOT that they were okay with this, so as long as DOT is okay with it.
Yeah, we had several, discussions with them. We submitted like sketch plans, because obviously, and we had to submit for like a hardship, because obviously the frontage is way too tight. So, and this is the best that we could do, and when, based on that email, they said it was gonna be okay. And now it's in for them for, the review itself.
So, based on that information, I don't think they'll require any variances.
So where are they with DOT?
We had gotten some initial comments, I believe, and I wanted to confirm that DOT was okay with this kind of unusual configuration, and I did get an email forwarded from the engineering firm that DOT said they were okay with it. It was forwarded from DOT, so it's not like they were saying it was from DOT.
Busy road.
Yeah, are we happy that it's wide enough for truck deliveries and whatever else you're gonna have coming in and out? Karen, is it, you think it's wide enough?
Well, I think it's wide enough per code.
Because the code requires 24, right?
Right.
And that's 27 actually right at the property line.
Where this extension is, or?
Right, this is 20, the driveway is 20, the curb cut is 24, is over 24. It's, what did you say it was?
27. And then right at the actual curb cut is like 42.
And there's a little shoulder there anyway, right?
Correct.
Is this strictly gonna be takeout?
Even takeout, yeah.
They're showing, I think 8 indoor seats, and they were saying 4 outdoor seats, but by the size of the picnic table, it would actually be 6, so it would be 14 seats.
It's still under the 16 seat.
Yeah.
Right, the health department would still consider it a under 16-seat food establishment.
Yeah.
As far as, the only thing it might matter about is the number of restrooms.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't affect their sanitary and all
Yeah,
that.
because apparently, we were speaking to the architect, and the architect was saying that that code requirement just recently changed, like
Yeah,
several months ago?
I spoke to the chief building inspector, and he said whether they have 12 seats or 16 seats, he would still expect 2 restrooms.
So when I talked to my architect, we were working off of a code that said if you had 15 or less, including seats and employees.
Yeah,
it would
it's
be one
people,
that-
it's not
people,
seats, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so-
my architect wanted to know if maybe we could, like, get the exact number of the code that, like states the change, so he could.
Yeah, you'd have to deal with, Brad
Brad.
Hammond, the
Brad.
chief building
Okay.
inspector,
We'll do that.
but, that's more of a building permit issue.
So if we could just back up to the history here.
Yes.
In August of 2014, there was a stop work order issued, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in October of 15, there was a certificate of compliance. So what was going on in August of 14 with the stop work order?
I saw pictures, it looked like, the place was gutted, it looked like some part of
Did you
that
own it then?
wall was
No, we
out.
didn't.
Oh, you didn't own it then?
Yeah, that was, the previous owner was doing things, trying to make it into kind of like a restaurant.
Then they
without
changed
any
their mind and
permits.
tore it down?
No, then he purchased it from.
And then you tore it down?
Yeah, from
And this is what it looks like
developer.
since you got the building permit in
And
February of 16?
Yes.
Okay.
So, one question I had was about handicap accessibility from the sidewalk, and I think, Mary Grace, you said you will be addressing that.
Correct, yeah, we're changing it to a bluestone, from the side, I guess from here. From here, I guess this here now becomes all bluestone.
No, I was talking about the front entrance.
Yeah, it's actually, the entrance to the restaurant is actually here.
Right, but, you're required to have a, handicap accessible entrance from the sidewalk.
Correct, so what's gonna happen is this is the handicap accessibility. Like, from here, it's gonna come this way. Actually, on,
Okay, as long as it's handicap accessible, that's a pathway from the public sidewalk to,
yeah, it actually becomes here. This
but,
is
I
the-
mean, is it impossible to do it from the front?
Yeah, because this area is steep. This area is very steep. Like, because this here is like at least 2 foot difference. So, this here is really your path to the entrance. And this is the entrance to the restaurant anyway. It's
That'll
not
be the
this
main
one.
entrance to the restaurant.
Yeah, but there is a
Mhm.
entrance.
But the one
Correct.
that like we'll be, promoting everyone to use will be this entrance right here.
So this will be the handicap walkway here?
Correct,
And did you say this was bluestone?
yes.
Is that
What
acceptable?
they mean, when they say bluestone,
It's
I
pavers.
thought gravel,
Oh,
but
pavers.
they mean
Yeah,
pavers.
it's like the
Oh, okay.
bluestone, like this bluestone paving thing.
And this, what's this, a picnic table?
That's the picnic table.
Correct.
So they'd have to navigate around that?
Right, as long
This
as
can
there's
shift,
three,
like 4
4
feet.
Okay.
feet,
Mhm.
there
Yep.
should be, I mean,
Correct.
4 feet should be what we have there. So I don't think I'm gonna go through everything, but I did wanna mention that, the plan I looked at, initially showed the RPZ out front here. And we had some conversations back and forth and with the chief building inspector, and, I was told you were gonna put it on the side of the building.
Correct, yeah, so it's this one here, you would see here, I guess it's gonna show better on here. So that's where that enclosure is gonna be now.
So that'll be, pretty well hidden, and,
Up against the building?
he felt he didn't
Correct.
have to give them a, variance for the setback. What else can I tell you? As far as supplementary guidelines go, they do recommend, special materials such as brick or cobblestones for walkways instead of concrete, as long as they're handicap accessible. So, that's, the only thing that would concern me would be the front one, if the board wants that to be anything other than concrete.
Yeah, 'cause
Let
right
me
now
know.
we're proposing concrete there.
Does anybody have an objection to that, or do you want it to be something more aesthetically?
That's actually a ramp right there, so,
What's the other options that you would have in your head?
Well, instead of concrete, which is proposed, the guideline says brick or cobblestones.
Can you make a ramp with that?
Brick
the
would be
brick
good.
you
Well, this is all
can,
pavers,
you
right?
just-
You said-
Correct, yes, bluestone pavers, yes.
It's on the main road. I'd vote going for brick.
You gonna go to ZBA? Or have you been to ZBA?
No,
No,
we're not planning on going.
I don't believe they'll need to go to ZBA, and this is a guideline, so it's up to the planning board if they wanna, if they feel it's practical to have brick or cobblestones instead of concrete, let me know. We'll,
I don't have a preference.
Doesn't bother me.
okay.
You want bricks?
Bricks.
You know, tight brick is as good as concrete, I mean, it looks nicer, but, you know, what makes sense, you know, it's handicapped, you know, you don't wanna.
Well, I don't think this
No,
is
it's not
handicapped.
situation, you know.
That's actually a ramp.
Oh, that's gonna, and then you're gonna go around.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Why
That's
not-
why we were
oh, I'm sorry,
thinking-
why not have like a ramp up to the front?
It's too high to have a ramp
That's
in
a
that area.
porch like.
Go out way too far into the yard, right?
Well, like one that's parallel to the porch is what I'm saying.
Because of the height difference of the ground and the porch, the ramp would have to be
Too much of an angle.
really long.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like
Okay.
really
Have two
winding.
levels.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So this is the handicap pathway coming up here,
Correct.
going all the way around.
Correct. Mhm.
So, but I mean, you can make paver walkways that are handicap accessible.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think either would look fine. I mean, I really don't have any strong preference, so it's just what would be best for people, you know, in
To be
wheelchairs
walking,
coming
yeah.
up.
Mhm.
And what is gonna
Yes.
last the longest, you know, in
Correct.
terms of the ramp. I don't wanna have to be redoing brick
You know,
or
concrete,
stuff like that.
concrete will last the longest.
But if there's another option, I'm open
You
to
know.
that too.
Dick, you say brick? Ed, no preference?
No, no preference.
No preference from me.
I say concrete.
Concrete, I guess.
Okay. And then the other guidelines that I think you had no objection to was to add some landscaping to announce the main entrance.
Yep.
Or just, you know, the front of the building to make it look a little
Yeah,
more.
additional landscaping there.
And instead of just using a wood fence around the dumpster enclosure, to add some of the plantings that you would have used around the RPZ, put them around the dumpster enclosure.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Cross-access, they are showing cross-access to the east, which is the farm stand property. Right now, there's a greenhouse over there, so, and there's no improvements to connect to really, but, since the property's own Hamlet Center, it may be redeveloped in the future, so we could do a future cross-access right here onto the adjacent property to the east. Can't really do it to the west, because that's where the parking stalls are, and you really don't want to lose any parking stalls. So there were just some landscaping comments, which I don't think are too controversial. Still waiting for fire marshal, water district, and the town's consulting engineer. Still waiting on review of the title by the town attorney's office. Architectural review board, the building exists. We didn't get any building elevations. To me, it looks fairly in keeping with the district, but it would be up to the board if they wanted an application submitted to the ARB or not.
Yes. They've handled everything else, Mike, I think.
Have you, is anyone living there now?
Yes, we are. We have a studio, and we have my husband and our baby right now.
Well, I mean, the house is built already and they're occupied, so I don't know. Are we gonna make them change it to brick? I mean, ARB's recommendation, right?
Yes, it's a recommendation to the planning board.
If it wasn't built, I would agree with you, but it's already up.
I don't know where we're up, what happened?
I don't
It
know.
was built as a house. They're in front of us for a conversion.
They would have to do elevations
Right.
for the planning board, the architectural review board to look at.
You have to, right?
No, you don't.
No?
already up, I don't see why
Pretty easy
she's
over
making them
too.
spend money for no reason.
No, no, yes, Joe?
Yes.
Yes? No? Okay, so you don't have to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's basically it.
Going two today.
So, we'll get a revised plan and we'll take it from there.
And we're gonna schedule a public hearing, right?
Yes, that's on the agenda for
Okay.
later in the meeting.
Very good, thank you.
What kind of restaurant are you putting in?
It's gonna be like a home style, we do our own like curing, we make sausage and bacon
Great,
and brunch and lunch.
beautiful,
Yeah.
good luck.
Thank you so much.
What's the name of it?
Barrow,
Good luck.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
This place is seeming to really good.
Keep it simple, just small business, okay? Trying to get it off the ground.
Just go when he runs out of clothes. I gotta go food.
Okay, next item is a discussion item for preliminary major residential subdivision, Caphold Farm in Jamesport, Laurel. So, hello, Jefferson is not here, I believe you spoke to him?
I spoke to him this morning,
Okay.
yes. He said that he wasn't feeling well, and
Right.
he preferred that the substantive discussions be put over to a future meeting of the board, I think the
Right.
June 1st meeting.
So, we could certainly do that and still schedule a public hearing so you don't lose time,
That's
but you'll
fine.
have to come to the next work session.
Yeah, June 1st at 7, correct? Is that your next one?
No, that's a.
No, that's,
a night meeting.
That's a
Ah.
night meeting.
All right.
It would be 2 weeks after that. Right, Emily?
The first meeting would be 7 o'clock, June 1st.
Right, but we don't typically do discussion items at the night meeting. Not the public hearing.
So, yeah,
Discussion.
the discussion would be June 15th, and then the public hearing would be July 6th.
Yes.
That way you're not losing another month for
Right.
postings and everything.
That's fine, June
Okay.
15th, yeah.
And we'll vote on the public hearing under the resolutions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next item is NERP Holdings Tractor Company subdivision.
Good afternoon.
Nope.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm Eric Line from Bowler Engineering, and this is Mark Diodabo, who's the applicant. We're here if there's any questions.
Okay, well, we're talking about the subdivision first.
We'll do the subdivision first, and then we'll get into the site plan. So what we have is it's a minor subdivision. It's a 3-lot subdivision out of an existing 51.8 acre parcel. It's located on 4331 Middle Country Road in Calverton. It's on the south side of Route 25, and it's located directly across Middle Country Road from the intersection of Fresh Pond Avenue. The site as it presently exists is about a 51.8 acre parcel, which is improved with a 1-story metal building up towards the front here. The proposed subdivision would create 3 parcels. I'm gonna reference them as parcel A, B, and C as they've done on the plan. Parcel A would be approximately 5.28 acres in size. Parcel B would be approximately 41 acres in size, and parcel C would be approximately 5 acres in size. I noted in my staff report there was just a couple of, typographical errors on the map, a couple of little issues with, the values, property sizes not adding up correctly, but, nothing major that I'm gonna spend a lot of time on. Staff conducted a secret review on the subdivision application, which we were looking at in conjunction with the site plan as to not segment the review. It would be an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA. We haven't recommended a determination yet, because the rear end of the site has been used, mining.
Parcel B.
Yeah, parcel B has, the whole site's really been used for a variety of industrial uses. Staff recommends that a Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessment be conducted, to test for VOCs, semi-VOCs, metals, asbestos, whatever's kind of ended up on the site through years of industrial use. At this point, we're holding off the recommendation on the determination until the results of that come back. With regards to the subdivision itself, staff recommends that, although at this time it's only a minor 3-lot subdivision, we recommend that it be designed to the standards of a major industrial subdivision because you have a large 41-acre parcel at the back that could potentially be developed, with some significant development. Right now, this, what I'll call the common access, it's only 30 feet wide. Town code states that for industrial subdivisions, it should be 55 feet wide. We believe it's the right thing to do. If this parcel were to ever be developed, it would cause disturbance to, the businesses and whatever they're doing up there. So to kind of get ahead of any future issues, we recommend that common access be widened to 55 feet.
Where does the building sit now again?
The building is like right kind of.
Oh, right there?
Yeah. So that building, as that, part of the site plan, that building would come down because it's right kind of in the access way.
Okay.
No, so these are, there are 2 areas on the subdivision plan. It's just called area number 1, area number 2. They were mentioned in the title report, the findings from the town attorney's office. Right now, it's not indicated on the subdivision plan what they are, whether they're leased areas, encumbered in some way. So that's something we want to correct and kind of get through the title report, just to find out exactly what they are and what the significance is. The site, there is a 12-inch water main running along Middle Country Road, so the site is within the Riverhead Water District. I've got comments back from the Suffolk County Planning Commission. It's a matter of local determination. That's what I've got on the subdivision.
I completely agree about the road being 55, just so we don't know what's gonna happen in the back.
Yeah, instead of just causing disturbance and, we plan for the future, so.
But if he were ever to subdivide in the future, I just want to clarify, we're the applicant, and we're for parcel A only is really our area of concern. So while we're running the subdivision in accordance with the whole property in conjunction with the property owner, our interest is in parcel A. So the future subdivision at the rear, they would have to come back before the board anyway. I'm not quite sure, I don't see why it couldn't be widened at that time. What's the concern? Because they wouldn't be able to subdivide further without coming back before the board.
I think the thought process behind it is if you're, as part of the site plan, if you're gonna design an access road and you're gonna, put all this infrastructure in there, and then, 5 years down the road, the owner wants to subdivide it, you're gonna be ripping up all that utility,
Where's your access gonna be for parcel, for this parcel? Hey,
It's a cross access off the main drive aisle, so, our intent was that the main drive aisle goes in, it's gonna terminate, we'll get to the site plan next anyway, but it's gonna terminate down here. It's cross access over into parcel A. Parcel C would be assumed to have cross access as well, and then the access for parcel B would continue to the rear. So if it were ever to be subdivided and it had to be widened, simply an expansion of the roadway westward could be conducted to the width we need to, and I'm sure it could be engineered such that it wouldn't impact what's already there. We're gonna be putting in the infrastructure and the road at 30 feet. I don't see why we couldn't expand it the 25 additional feet in the future, just.
It's because what the code says for this application of a minor subdivision, right?
Well, and that's the thing, that's where it's a minor subdivision right now. We recommend that it be designed to the industrial standards. But, right now, just looking at this application, no, they're not required to do the 55
Okay,
feet.
so the proposed use for parcel A is a tractor dealership?
Tractor
Supply company, it's a retailer.
So you're gonna have truckloads of tractors going in and out of there on a 30-foot wide road?
No, it's a retailer.
Tractor
Nope.
Supply is just the name they use.
Yeah.
They sell a lot of different equipment.
It's
They
like
don't
an
sell
agway
tractors.
type deal.
What is it? So I'm not,
They don't
parts?
sell tractors, no. Yes, you can sell parts, yeah, they sell hardware. They've got, clothing. They have, for working outside, like Carhartt products. They sell hardware, they sell parts, they sell, hay, you'll find pet products. It's a store, it's kind of, it's only 19,000 square feet, but they don't sell tractors, and they
Okay.
only get one rig a week from the distribution center. They'll get like small box trucks, UPS and stuff like that all week. Typically, it's one truck from the distribution center per week. So it's not, I know the name is somewhat deceptive.
But right now, it's ink on paper. Don't you think it'd be easier to change it now? Wouldn't that be a better planning
As
tool?
far as the
than-
driveway,
Yeah.
you know, again, like Eric said, we're only buying this piece. You know, that'd kind of be up to this, I think it's really be up to this, property owner, who we're buying the property from. And he's very capable of doing it. I mean, what if he never does anything with it, or he just keeps it the way it is? You're building a driveway that's really not necessary.
But we have to plan for
You
the
have an
future.
agreement with the present owner of the land, do you not?
Yes, I do.
On approval, then you can go ahead, upon our approval for the subdivision.
Right, yes.
I don't understand the hardship of making the road wider now. What's the hardship?
That's more expensive. I mean, that would be number one. I don't know if you'd call it a hardship, but building 55 feet instead of 30 feet is 25 feet more that may or may not be required. At this time, it is not required.
Well, it does make parcel C more palatable as far as development. Somebody wanted to come in because the road is there.
Well, and that's the other thing, I mean, you know, as of right, someone could develop this property with that 30-foot access, you know, and now you'd have two, you know, existing,
Yeah.
you know, two existing uses.
Mhm.
You know, it could become more difficult if parcel C were developed.
We use 28 feet typically, and I built 20 of these stores. Our driveways are 28 feet. We get WB 65 tractor trailers, one of the biggest ones on the road, and there's never been any problems. And I mean, I agree with you. If he develops, you know, 10-lot subdivision back here, you're right, maybe it should be a larger road.
I think it's good planning to go with the 50 feet right from the start, being that you're asking for a 3-lot subdivision. That's my position.
May I interject?
Sure. Vinny is our consulting engineer.
When we had originally met with these applicants some years ago, we were talking about a suitable layout for this subdivision, knowing that this parcel ultimately could be further subdivided. That being the case, you would be looking at constructing a road, a town road to a town standard. Whether it be private or remain, public or remain private, that was a question mark. That width right there, what is that width between these two?
30 feet.
That's not adequate for a right-of-way. So the reality is to provide a minimum 55-foot flag strip, regardless of what the width of, that you're constructing the road in. Because down the road, you don't have enough real estate to bring in a town road.
Well,
Now, whether that's parcel C squishes a little bit or parcel A squishes a little bit, that's to be determined with respect to the
There's
layout.
also activity going on, Becky, is there not?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
There's tractor
Yeah.
trailers, et cetera, going in and out of there
And,
as
and,
well.
and with that said, as far as, I haven't seen the site plan in a while on this, I believe your sole access is going to be off this access strip, is that correct?
Yes.
So here you are, you're up and running, you got a business, you're gonna come in the potential future and work on this segment of the road, or you have to widen it? Absolutely not. You're gonna want this to be done and complete, so any future development back here, you're not involved in the mix. I haven't formally commented on this plan, but my comments will be along those lines. And again, I think that as far as the requirement for that 55-foot wide, that's a very strong recommendation, and I think in the interest of the developer or the people who own this property, to sit there and create a substandard, quote, flagpole.
I'd be going to them if I were you.
John, I gotta go to, it's gonna be off of our property. I can't make that decision. I'm not saying it's a bad idea at all.
All I'm saying is
So
the
we need to
comments
go
that I'm
another,
vocalizing to the board
yeah.
are consistent with the meetings that we met with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and Mr. Montecavo, and I know there are other interests in this property as well. I don't know if they were here or not.
Okay. Understood. All right, I got you loud and clear.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I've got on the subdivision part before we get into the site plan.
I
Board
think,
has any
given the
questions?
nature of the activity of the back piece,
We should, it's
the
in
soil
the-
samples, they should be, you know, adequate to cover the whole area and the activities that were going on there.
And that's obviously something else we're gonna have to talk to the property owner about. Is there any particular number of borings? I mean, it's hard to quantify this and on the outside looking in, trying to approach the property owner and not quite sure what he's getting into. The environmental, the soil
the envi-
borings,
yeah.
yeah.
He's got a
We
mining
have done
permit.
borings for our property.
No,
That
we,
has
we
been
understand
done.
what he's doing.
No,
We're
no,
looking.
he's got a mining permit now.
Mhm.
DEC will tell you how many borings there are.
We requested, at least in the preliminary review, that the applicants provide qualified consultant or engineer, whatever you would like to propose to us for your boring locations. And you get the opportunity to make the first draft of that, and then we'll review it, rather than us specifying the number of borings per acre that we would like to see. There are some standards out there for phase 1 and phase 2.
Sure.
We're also looking to validate the geotechnical capabilities of those soils. So in addition to the environmental, what the load-bearing capacities or any limitations that you might see with regard to supporting both your structures and the proposed roadways, based on the type of materials that you uncover there.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna need that certainly for our parcel, for our foundation design as it is. That's where it gets tricky again. Are you looking to quantify the soils at the rear as well? And certainly with the operations he's conducting, they're consistently moving. So how do we document?
DEC monitors them.
Yeah.
They do, but DEC has not provided us with any information. If the applicants have that information, want to provide that back to us, that's fine.
Might be able to go that route instead, save some money.
Yeah, I'm not aware of the DEC confirming geotechnical information. They're solely environmental, so, I mean.
Well, it's less important to us on the geotechnical on the back piece, okay, to the south, but certainly, for your development
On
purposes.
our parcel,
and-
we're absolutely gonna conduct our own geotechnical investigation, because we'll need that to be, in order to
And
design.
the
our
access road too, especially if that becomes a town road at some future dedication, based on a longer-term development.
Now, that's where it's a little confusing, because at the initial meetings we had, it was indicated the road would not need to be dedicated. And that's kind of where we landed where we are. So that's something else we're gonna have to talk to the property owner about, if there's the potential for the road to have to be dedicated in the future. Because I don't think that's his understanding at this time.
Okay. I mean, are we contemplating dedicating this road to the town?
I think that's not what I meant.
No.
What I meant is when parcel B comes in for a subdivision,
Yeah.
you're going to whoever develops that lot is likely to build a roadway to town standard, whether it's a public or private right-of-way. And at that time, if it's a public right-of-way, in essence, they would continue construction beyond where you would take access, and they get to a point where to complete the roads, it would be dedicated, could potentially be dedicated to the town. The issue is you come in, you got 30 feet, you're gonna build an access drive into your property.
Right.
In the future, parcel B is going to be developed. I know that's an if, but the reality is, it's suitable to be subdivided. That's what happens with land that basically can be subdivided unless you're gonna put in a larger use or operation there. And even if that should be the case, you would probably want more access to 30 feet wide. Again, the site plan is obviously tied into how that portion of the road is developed at that time, or at this time.
If this road is 55 feet, does it need to be built to a certain town standard? Are you suggesting that?
If you're gonna dedicate it.
Well,
Well, they're gonna dedicate it by
Oh,
right.
yeah, right now, I don't think we're
You
looking
would
at,
dedicate.
yeah, I don't think the town would be looking for you to dedicate it at that
so
point.
you're just looking for it to be 55 feet, right? But it doesn't have to be built to a town standard.
The road, the, you know, underlying land would be 55 feet. You're gonna show on your site plan how you're going to improve that 55-foot wide area, which I assume you'll have an easement over. You're gonna take title to parcel A.
Yes.
You're gonna have an easement over parcel B, I assume, to develop it. I assume you'll be
Yeah.
responsible to do that.
And parcel C then, the parcel B is the big one.
Exactly.
So we won't have, so we'll have an easement or a cross-access easement agreement on parcel C.
No, Mark,
No,
it
the
would,
road's gonna
it
be
would-
built on parcel C, isn't it?
no, the road's gonna be on parcel B. Cause
Oh,
parcel
so- oh,
C
right,
would
right.
also have
So
a
this is part of,
cross-access
okay, this is
agreement,
part
yeah.
of the big piece.
Yes.
Okay, you're right, I beg your pardon, that's right.
What is the size of A and C? Are they the same size?
Close, I mean,
Close.
parcel A is about 5 1/4, parcel C is right about 5.
And you,
The question or not, whether or not you wanna build it to town standards, you may wanna take that up with the owner. And what his intentions are for the back.
He has no plans. I talked to him after we got the letter. He said he really doesn't know what he's gonna do back there. He's got a business running back there. He tells me he really has nothing going on.
you build a curb cut here, it's gonna be required state of DOT approval for your site. You're gonna build a drive, and I assume you have double act to something laid out
Right,
similar
yep.
like this.
Mhm.
That is gonna, in essence, serve what you need. When they come back and they further develop this, you would want to think that what the improvement here is suitable to accommodate what potentially could happen back here, because if it's not, you're gonna see reconstruction happening while you're up and running. Which,
Not only that, I mean, there are huge trucks and equipment hauling soil in and out of there. Why wouldn't you wanna build it to town standards? That road could be a mess after a year after you open, if you don't do that.
and I think the terminology of town standards really talks about pavement width from curb to curb at this point. Which, you know, in essence, the bigger the better for you. You got trucks with trailers and based on your use coming in and out of here.
It's really more what you're saying.
in the
There-
back.
That's it.
Not a lot for us, Vin. It's more for what you're saying, in the back. They do have, I don't know what they're doing back there, but he's mining or he's got material coming in.
A lot of
and out.
You can
activity.
see it on the
Yeah,
aerial
there are
photo.
big trucks
I
that
mean,
go in there.
the reality of expense here.
You're probably
o-
right.
Over the course of 500 feet, what are you talking, you know, 500 feet times 10, 5,000 square feet
It's probably not a
more
lot.
of pavement, you know, what are you talking, another $10,000-$15,000
There's
to
a
pave it?
court
Over,
ordered
over a project
decision
that's
on that
gonna
back
cost
property.
you
They have the right
Yeah.
to
$4
build
or
a
$5
recycling
million
center
to
there.
build.
Okay.
That's fine,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's even all more reason.
I mean, I think it's a good idea, and you guys have made valid points. I just, again, it's not my property. It's Calverton Industries. It's
That's right.
John that's gotta make the decision.
Right, but understand
we'll
that
go for it.
right now, this is one piece.
Yep.
And we're dividing the one piece, so we're starting out looking at it as one piece.
Mhm.
So that's why these issues come up. That's why I feel the same way about the soil samples in the back. I'd like to know what's in the soil back there. We have a right to that.
Due
Yeah,
diligence.
So tell me, why is that important to you? I mean, until he develops his property.
Because of the activity that's been going on back there.
But what does
It's
that
still
have
the
to do
same
with-
parcel that you're subdividing.
I recognize that, but what does that have to do with our application, though? I mean, what he's doing back there, I don't know.
It's his property, he's selling it to you, it's one piece.
Yeah.
You're just looking at your little piece. We're
Right.
not, we're looking at, this is one piece right now. And how you're proposing to subdivide it.
Mhm.
Good question. Who exactly is the applicant on the subdivision?
the
You're the applicant
Yeah,
on
I
the
am.
subdivision?
It's us.
Okay. So, yes, it hasn't been subdivided yet, so we have to
Right.
look at the mass of the parcel. And that's a good point about the roadway width and the current trucks. I mean, that they're moving 70,000 pounds per tractor-trailer load,
Yep.
so
Okay.
it's a substantial amount of weight on that
what is
road.
that?
What
What is that
what
right
are,
now?
what are borings here gonna tell us? I mean, whatever it tells you, it could say it's sand, it's stone, it's rock, whatever.
I'd like
How
to
does
know
that
if
impact the
I'd like to
subdivision?
know if the
Warrant,
whole
it's gonna be
property's
an
contaminated or not.
analysis of
Oh,
the
that's
soil.
okay, that's environmental. That's not just the geotechnical.
That's right.
So, okay, and if it is, does that impact our application, our
I would say it
subdivision?
does.
If ours is clean and that is not, it would impact
It's
our
one
subdivision?
piece, though.
I know, I
It's
understand.
one, of course it would. If this piece is contaminated back here, I would say absolutely would impact your subdivision, what you're proposing.
So it's more the environmental that you're concerned with
I am.
than the geotechnicals. Geotechnical doesn't really matter at this
Sand.
point.
Mhm, yeah, it's a sand mine.
We
yeah.
know what it is, okay.
It'll be fine.
So you're more concerned with, okay, that's what I'm trying to understand. So you wanna know about what's back there before you give us the right to subdivide the property. And that's your right to do.
Currently, where is his access to this property now?
It's off of Middle Country Road.
But is it in here?
Here.
Mhm.
No, it's a
Yeah,
little bit
there's
further
an
to the
asphalt.
east.
That'll be the
Yeah,
next.
pretty much
Yeah,
in the
we have it
center
in
of
the
the
site
site.
plan.
Site plan, yeah.
I'd be talking to him if I were you and for my project. I'd be talking to him. This can only help him. You know, he's going to be using that road right away.
Oh, you mean as far as widening the road?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and he's going to have all the trucks he has per day, you know, I'd be talking to him.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're running our permits in there, they're 120,000 pounds.
Yeah. I'd be talking to him about sharing that expense.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're providing him
I
access.
think it makes sense.
I think, you know, no disrespect, we had asked, I asked who the applicant is. You know, the reason I state that, because the applicant in essence is the one who is listening to the board, taking direction, and making decisions on what they wish to do here. You know, I understand perhaps that you don't own the property, but in reality, if that's the case, and you don't have the ability to move lot lines and make these decisions, I think maybe that the owner of this property needs to join in as being part of the applicant,
Mhm.
because that's where you are with respect to putting lot lines on this piece of paper.
The subdivision portion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think he needs to be part of this.
He has been to some meetings, he's not here today, obviously.
Yeah.
He has been participating in meetings with his, he's been here and his agents have been here, but, he's not at this meeting.
Okay.
But I will convey our discussions.
Okay, so the next item is the actual site plan.
Oh, sorry.
By the way, Stan, Tractor Supply is a lot like Agway.
Okay.
All right, so now we get to the site plan portion of the application. What the applicant is proposing is to build approximately 51,500 square feet of retail space in a 4-building campus-style development on the subject property. The proposed development is going to consist of a 19,000 square foot main building, which has an attached 15,000 square foot outdoor fenced sales area. There's gonna be a 9,450 square foot building adjacent to that main building, and then there's gonna be 2 buildings here of approximately 4,000 square feet each. Site plan is obviously proposing landscaping, lighting, drainage improvements, on-site septic systems. Now, the biggest thing when I was reviewing this application, as a result of litigation with the town, the owner of this property was able to keep his old zoning before the enactment of the master plan. So he's going off of the old business CR zoning code. So it just required a little more back and forth, but there were some issues.
Did you confirm that with Dick?
Yeah, I confirmed it with Dick, Bob Kozakevich, everyone. Yeah, that's the way. So a couple of issues that arose with the code was front yard landscaping. The old section of the code basically states that trees shall be required along street frontages. It talks about size of the trees. You know, basically just to provide a full, full landscaping.
No, I was just pulling up the landscaping plan, yeah, we had proposed the outside trees, but we did not how many of those.
Yes, I mean, the code requires trees along the frontage with 25. I think the spirit of the code was kind of designed so that the trees aren't like growing into themselves, but they're spaced evenly.
Somebody, other things we've been doing on some of these main road projects is putting a slight berm of 2 feet or so. So when you drive by, you don't necessarily see the parking lot and the pavement, but you still see the display in the structure. So maybe we can consider that in the front, of your landscaping plan.
I mean, a couple feet is not a problem, you know, like a 6-foot berm is a big problem.
I mean, yeah,
Couple feet?
we're already providing this little, you know, we can make sure it's bermed up.
More like a, I was thinking more like a gradual,
Yeah, I will take a look. It might
Yeah.
be difficult to get the trees in there too, though, but.
Let me just bear in mind, this is a retail tenant, and so we have to be aware that they don't wanna have like a line of trees in front of them, so that they can be seen from the street.
right.
I mean, you could select a tree that you could prune up from the bottom, that would grow taller, that wouldn't necessarily, obscure the building entirely. It would soften the appearance from the road, and you wouldn't have.
Does it have to be completely
Put the
uniform?
buildings in the front.
Yeah, you can reverse it.
Buildings here in the apartment in the back. Then they'll see you.
So to your, I don't think, it doesn't say anything about uniformity of trees.
We drew up a draft already to address this comment. It's something, oops, sorry. It's something like this be amenable with, 2 or 3, 2, 2, and kind of make it.
I mean, it's better than not having anything. If the trees will grow, they'll mature, as long
It
as
gives
they're
us a
made.
couple windows.
What type, did you
to-
propose a type?
No, not yet. We were
Okay.
just looking
I
location-wise.
think that would look nice.
What do you think, Mark? I mean, otherwise, we're gonna have to provide them
Yeah.
straight across,
You want visibility, that's what you want.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, yeah.
especially being set back so far.
I mean, I think staggering them a little bit looks a little bit nicer than just having a straight run of tree, look a little more natural.
Okay.
Okay. This is just guidance.
It's gonna go on in the other building. And this is gonna be your main building, that's gonna go on in this building.
I wish I knew. I wish I knew. I don't have anybody for it.
The zoning
We're
calls
looking.
for us to develop it in a campus style, but yeah,
Yeah.
we're not that far down the road yet.
Same with the other two, I guess.
Right.
All right, so address the front yard landscaping. The code also dictates rear yard landscaping, saying that perimeter screened plantings along lines of property which don't front major roadways shall be provided. So I recommended that they just, provide a buffer along the rear property. Again, if that was ever developed, you'd be screening your property from the neighbors. I think that was the intent of the code on that
Yeah,
one.
could we just talk about that real quick, only because, they obviously mine back there, the site drops off significantly. Is it necessary to screen all the way across, or could we just screen maybe at the parking stalls, or what's the intent? I mean, currently, we're obviously not screening from really anything, there's not gonna be anything back there. So, from an aesthetic standpoint, for Tractor Supply, they're not really too concerned, so.
I mean, it's, I think the intent of the code is to provide uniformity, and I mean, all right, what if that does get developed in 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Are you guys gonna go and then provide screen plantings if something gets put behind there? Are we gonna have the authority, once this site plan's already signed off, to say, hey, put more plantings in, or do it now while we're doing the planting
What's the
season?
difference in elevation, 30 feet?
Currently, but whatever they're doing in the future, to their point, maybe it gets brought up to grade, maybe it does, they're
Goes
just
above our
against future
building.
planning.
What can happen?
Then what? How big a tree would we put there? Right?
I mean,
If they're above us.
you could be talking about a row of arborvitaes. I'm not saying,
Yeah,
I'm not saying.
It's still a mining operation in the back, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, it would occur to me, and this is just a thought, that putting some tall growing whatevers in the back would probably cut down on the dust. I even think that moving this, swapping them, you can always sweep a parking lot, it's tough to clean a building.
What do you mean, putting the building up
No,
toward
in
the
other
street?
words, just swap it, I mean, I would look into that a little bit, put this up front. If you got a mining operation going here, it's going to have sand dust, it's all over.
They'd have to turn the, then you'd have your delivery, you know, you'd have your loading up here. You know, you'd have loading
Well,
up
I don't
the
know if it
street.
can be done, it's just a
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah,
I
I was
mean-
thinking from an operations standpoint, you have loading in the back and access in the front.
Mark, it was something we
Yeah.
considered too. You end up losing parking because you don't have the depth. The front yard requirement pushes everything back, and then you don't get the buffering everywhere else, so you end up losing.
Losing parking.
Yeah.
Which losing parking is actually the next topic we get to.
Are you under, are we under on this?
Yeah.
We're under.
According to the old code, so when I looked in, are we good, the rear? or the
Well, the
rear-
code requires it, so we have to
Yeah,
put it
so,
in.
yeah, the rear yard landscaping, we're gonna need that.
I made a note.
So yeah, then we get to the issue of parking. According to the old town code, the parking requirement is 1 parking space for every 250 square feet of building area. So now the parking that they calculated, they omitted the fenced outdoor sales area, I guess because it maybe it wasn't considered building area because it's an outdoor area. So they're providing 147 stalls. If you include that outdoor fenced area, they're gonna require 206 stalls, so they're about 60 stalls shy. I did go back and look at previously approved site plans for Lowe's and Home Depot, who have a similar outdoor sales area. Those sales areas were included in their parking calculation, so to remain consistent, you know, I advise the applicant that, you know, we're gonna consider that parking area, so they are about 60 spaces shy.
Even counting that?
Well, if you don't count the fenced area, they're okay. When you do count that fenced area, that's when they're about 60 spaces shy. So, I mean, they would have to go to ZBA for a variance for parking.
And you said what's been done in the past, I'm sorry?
So I had looked at Lowe's and Home Depot, where they have like a, like
Yep.
their garden centers of
Mhm.
similar fenced area. And then on those site plans, they did include the area as.
They counted
Yeah,
it.
they counted it for their parking.
Okay.
When were those approved, and are they in the same zone?
I mean, they're now in business, it's probably business here. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know that, but,
Because we don't, you know, typically, you know, like I said, I built many of these stores, we only need 70 spaces, including the FOD, the fence yard, we need 70. To put as many spaces as you're suggesting would be, or even going to, I don't know if it's within the planning board's purview to look at this without asking for parking for it, because it's just, well, first of all, it'd be another commission, and second of all, it's, if they ever denied it, I don't know what we would do with all that parking, it's just another, how many spaces?
Yeah,
60
it's about,
spaces?
and like, I don't think they need the 60 spaces, and I don't
No
know, I mean,
question.
council's not here, but I don't know if it's in the planning board's authority to consider, you know, how do we consider that? Do we consider
Yeah.
a building area?
We have empirical data from a lot of their other stores too, as far as how many stalls they have and use, that we'd be happy to provide. I don't know if you want me to give it to you now, or.
Yeah,
Well, let's consult Dick on that, because like you say, it
yeah,
may
so
not be.
I don't know if it's in our authority.
Right.
You know, required parking, all right, there was one issue with the rear yard parking, on the rear of the parcel. The old code states that there should be no parking within 15 feet of a property line. It was shown as 10 feet, which, I mean, that can be a,
We can make that we already made the modification.
all right, so that's fine. Off-street loading, the old code states that for site plans with a floor area of 40,000 to 100,000 square feet, they require 3 off-street loading berths. There's only 2 off-street loading berths that are provided.
We can certainly fit a third in.
Yeah. And then, you know, just, you know, what, you had mentioned what types of deliveries you're getting, like what kind of trucks are they flatbeds, are they, you know, like the 52-foot, you know, trailer, you know?
Yeah, you said 1 trailer a week, right, Mark? Usually
Yeah,
WB.
it's WB 65, no, it's an enclosed trailer, and they're, you know, bringing in, like I said, pet food or clothes, or could be, you know, lawnmowers this time of year.
Zoning tables, there were a couple of just, you know, stuff with the zoning tables to just, you wanna take out some extraneous information.
Take out the new code, yeah.
Yeah, take out the new code, because we're all going by the old stuff. Handicap parking and accessibility, they are compliant with the town code in terms of handicap parking and accessibility. The one thing I recommended was an access from the northern buildings to the southern buildings, which could be kind of flip around a couple of spaces. You can actually run the access in between a handicap space. That way you're not, being that parking
Very
is
simple.
kind
We
of
would
tight by
essentially
code, that
move
way they're
the
not
handicap
losing a
down
space.
here, so the striped area with it would be right there.
We're just talking about swapping
Yeah.
some of those.
Yeah, you're moving it, and that way you have a handicap space in front of the,
Makes sense.
the 9,400
Okay.
square foot building. There was a trash enclosure that's located behind one of the main buildings, which it was located in front of two parking spaces, which doesn't make sense to put parking spaces in front of a, active dumpster area, and especially when you're kind of tight for the parking anyway. So, just I would relocate that dumpster.
Yeah, would it be, just flip it down there? Can you with that? I think I drew that up already too. Would it have to meet the rear yard requirements of the dumpster as a structure? Or could we set it at 15 feet, give or take?
Well, I mean, it's not parking, and I don't believe that a dumpster would be
So if we hold the
considered for
15
setbacks.
feet that we need for the parking, we'll keep that consistent to 15 feet for the
Yeah,
trash
you-
enclosure as well? Okay. Got it.
Put a little cut in that outdoor sales area, that'd work.
What's that?
If you put a cut in the outdoor sales area, you do that also.
I think we're gonna end up flipping that one. Yeah.
Okay. It's for the 9,400 square feet, I think is what they're talking about.
It's only for that building?
Yeah, we have a
see the
small one
trash
here.
behind them is in front of the two stalls? That
right
one.
here.
Yeah, no,
So, I
that's
mean-
what I'm talking about moving, yeah.
Moving on, outdoor storage. So the old code specifically prohibits display, storage, or sales of goods or wares in outside areas other than indicated for such displays. So the applicant actually did specify, I believe there are 5 areas for outdoor storage. There's a permanent trailer display, which is gonna be on the northern end of the property. And then there's gonna be 4 small areas for displays of merchandise out in front of the store. Staff just recommends that these areas be, striped or painted or
Permanently striped,
delineated
so.
somehow. I mean, they're on the plan, but, when
You
it
have
comes
no
to.
objection to that, Mark, right? I mean, we're
Yeah,
defining the
just
areas.
stripe
anyway.
stripe it on the floor so that we know,
Yep.
we don't want it
yep.
to start expanding and all of a sudden you got like a.
Okay, yeah, just paint it. I gotcha. No, we've done that before.
Lighting, there were a couple of issues with the lighting plan that was proposed. Most of the fixtures, including the pole mounts and the gooseneck fixtures, were all exceeded the permissible height for lighting, which is 16 feet. So the pole lights were proposed at 22 feet above grade. The wall packs were 18 feet, and the gooseneck lights were 21 feet. So they just need to, address those issues, put them at 16 feet, redo the photometrics to make sure we're all.
It's all the
Same
same.
thing with the goosenecks? Are they?
The
Yeah,
gooseneck,
all-
they just
They go
needed
on
a
the
better
building.
cut sheet, because the gooseneck cut sheet we provided didn't necessarily show it as fully shielded, even though it comes that way.
Well, the
Okay.
gooseneck fixture basically showed like the
light bulb
gooseneck
sticking out.
fixture with the cage,
Yeah.
with the light sticking out. I don't know if that's accurate or if that was just a.
We need
Okay.
one that's fully shielded so that you don't see the
Yep.
fixture, so.
Okay, okay.
It's gonna be the same number of light poles outside, and they're all outside the truck areas, because once you get to 16 feet, it gets a little hairy here and there, but everything is outside of the aisleways, so there's no issue.
All right, we have a
Just a
30-inch
modification.
base, and then the lamp goes on top of that.
Yep, but they're limiting you to a
16
16-foot
feet.
mounting.
The
16
base and the light, 16
Correct.
16 feet from
Yeah.
grade to the lowest point of the light
fixture
emitting.
itself.
The
fixture.
lowest point of the light, okay, 16 feet.
The pole, some of the light fixtures are proposed at 5,000 degrees Kelvin, which, the town's always recommended not exceed 4,000 degrees Kelvin, so that's just a matter of either changing bulbs or,
Yes.
changing
Already
fixtures.
taken care of also.
So then the Riverhead Water District, so as I said, there is a 12-inch main that is located along Middle Country Road. I believe the applicant is proposing an 8-inch water main that's gonna be installed through the common access in order to supply the parcel. The plan shows that the water main it will terminate at the back of the common roadway. I mean, this is a question, I mean, it kind of ties into the further development of the parcel, which at this time, nothing's proposed. But if that, I had spoken to Water District, if the back part of that parcel, the 41 acres is developed, 8 inch is not gonna be sufficient to feed it. It would require a 12-inch water main, which would need a town board public hearing. Riverhead Water District would need an easement into that property. So again, this is a, question of future planning. Do we do the 8-inch, which that would probably be the biggest thing, that if the roadway was ever, the roadway's built with an 8-inch water main underneath, you'd have to rip that up to put in a 12-inch if he divides it. And like you said,
The
being that,
next guy would, he wouldn't have to.
well, yeah, whoever's gonna develop it, but it would disturb that roadway. You'd have to rip the roadway up, which you only have access from that common roadway. You don't have access, so it's not.
That's one of those things you might wanna talk to the owner about, and maybe you can get a shared
Yeah.
expense from him.
Well, something else that's going, when we initiated the application here, we hadn't initiated with the Water District yet. Since then, we've initiated. They're gonna do their own engineering on it as well, so I'm sure we'll get similar comments and we'll address them appropriately.
Cause it's
Do
to
we-
his benefit to have it
Do we
right
have
now,
enough
so you share the payment.
landscaping in, do we have to even think about an irrigation well?
I mean, there's a decent amount of landscaping on there. It should be irrigated in some
Because
fashion.
that,
I would-
that's something that they'll be looking at, they're trying to, relieve some of the pressure on the.
The problem is the old code requires that the street trees be irrigated.
But, I mean, would they be irrigated with town water, or would you be doing a irrigation well?
Well, the town, I would think that the water department is going to, lean more towards, your own irrigation well.
And
Think about that,
We've had
let
several
us know.
projects where we've been saying the
Yeah.
same thing.
We've been requiring it, because they require it.
And since you're gonna be the first guys in there, you probably have to put your own well in. So they-
But yeah, I think the 8-inch versus the 12-inch water main, and, continuing it beyond what's developed on the roadway, like I said, it would probably be something to go to the owner, because if he wants to develop it, let him know that it's all gonna have to get done eventually. So to share some of that cost, it might be worth it to take care of it now.
Taking it down to the point where we'd have the hydrant we need, and it would just continue from there.
More expensive way to make
I
it.
mean, the Water District's still gonna engineer it,
12 inch.
and that's something the Water District would like to see.
That's fine, yeah.
All right, going on, there was, just a quick note with the sanitary system. It seems as though the sanitary system was designed not taking into account that 15,000 square foot fenced sales area, which ultimately it's Department of Health approval if they're gonna consider that building area or what they're doing, but something to take into consideration if it's.
We have another
if it's designed
application
slightly.
pending in a different township in Suffolk County where they did not ask for it to
They
be
did not.
counted,
All
so,
right, so,
we'll-
if it-
our application with them will take its course, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we received a comment from the planning commission, it's local determination. We received notes from building department, fire marshal, town attorney's office with regards to the title report, which needs to be addressed. Comments from the architectural review board are pending, I believe they're on for an appointment this month.
531, yes.
Still have not received comments from state DOT. Because the development is gonna be more than an acre, it's gonna require preparation of a SWIP to be approved by the town engineer. And comments from the consulting engineer are pending.
Quick point, going back to the landscape in the front. I would even prefer, it doesn't sound like you're too fond of having too many trees, and I agree. I would personally like to see a small berm. I don't know if berm is right, just like a 2-foot raise in the front piece with ground shrubs. And that will hide the parking lot and just give you full visibility of the buildings. In my opinion, that makes more
Tenant
sense
would
than,
prefer that.
I don't know how the other members feel about it.
I guess you would have to check with the attorney, right, to see if that's a relaxation or whether it's a variance?
I think you can move the trees. I think we have the ability to move trees from one side to the other. we
Still
would
like
not
to
have-
see a few trees in the front.
Yeah. I mean, the
I don't
code's.
disagree with that
A couple,
concept,
maybe a
but-
couple.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, the code specifically says trees, so I mean, I don't know if we, I don't know how much we have to play with that.
So with the state, we haven't heard from the state yet?
Not heard from the state yet.
Did- Because that intersection and that stretch of roadway is getting busier and busier, and I think the discussion should take place whether or not we want a traffic light there. And it is in alignment with Fresh Pond, your access, right?
That's the way it's
Yeah.
been designed, yeah. We formally submitted application direct to the DOT as well, so I know you guys forwarded the application, but we also made applications, so.
That's all I got.
Okay.
Is that it? No, I have nothing else.
That's enough, right?
Yeah.
Page full of notes.
Okay, guys, good
Thank
luck.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next item is Baiting Hollow Cottage condominium number 3. Are they here?
Tom Wolper was supposed to be here.
No Tom?
I mean, I can still present it. I mean, it's a residential application to construct a single-family residence. The only reason it's coming before the planning board is because it's in Fading Hollow Cottage condominiums. If you want, I can kind of speak to it and give you
Is it
the.
as of right, or is it buying
Well, yeah, so that's, no, it's as of right.
Yeah,
And they're gonna demolish
taking that
this.
down.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
So you want me to just kind of?
Yeah,
quick
I mean,
it's simple enough, I believe, where it's not. So, yeah, it's an application to demolish an existing 473 square foot cottage and to construct a new 2-story, 1,200 square foot residence in its place. Proposed construction is going to include the installation of a new sanitary system, septic tank and leaching pools, and the installation of a retaining wall. And there's also going to be stormwater leaching pools for stormwater management. The plan department received a building permit survey, and as well as full architecturals of the building. We originally only received the building department survey, which just kind of showed the footprint of the existing building. At our recommendation, we got full architecturals, which were actually signed off by the HOA of Baiting Hollow Cottage condominiums. That was done so that the board was aware of the full scope of it, because you are creating a significantly larger structure than what was there. Staff did the secret review. It's a type 2 action. It's a single-family residence.
Tell them we better get their application in before January 1st. We're gonna have to have
We're gonna have that what?
the night system.
For the septic.
The septic,
Well, that's when they go live.
January 1st.
All right.
Get it in fast.
All right, so just going through a couple of points in the site plan. There is a proposed 575 square foot earth driveway. Staff would recommend that the driveway be paved in some manner, just to prevent runoff, whether it's
Dirt?
gravel or dirt. Yeah, it's an earth driveway. Yeah, so, to prevent runoff into the street and dirt being tracked, I recommend it be paved. Setbacks was kind of an issue that I looked at. Although it's located in the RA 40 zoning use district, the schedule of dimensional regulations don't really hold true in the Baiting Hollow Cottage condos, because there's not parcels per se, it's really kind of building envelopes, and even with this application, they're kind of exceeding the original building envelope for the cottage. The proposed cottage on the west side, at its closest point, is gonna be 57 feet from the neighbor, On the east side, the closest is gonna be about 32 feet. Yeah.
Where's the driveway?
The driveway is earth driveway, like right there. They submitted a, like I said, there's some steep grading that goes on the property. It drops off pretty significantly from the front to the back. The applicant's got a couple of leaching pools in there to contain all the runoff. Staff has not received a title report yet from the applicant. That needs to be reviewed by the town attorney, so they'll need to provide that. As I said, the Bating Hollow Cottage Condominium Board signed off on the architecturals, so they're aware of the scope of the project. And then there was a little section in the staff report where I spoke of the planning board's authority in this, being that it is residential. Back in 1993, the applicant, there was another application for a similar expansion of one of these cottages. It was basically determined that the planning board is the governing authority for expansion of this condominium. There's a section of one of the resolutions. It stated that from time to time, certain amendments to the subject condominium map have been made and may be necessary in the future for the enjoyment of real property. So it basically just kind of left the door open for more expansion. We just, there were a couple of conditions that we would probably want to impose if we do approve the project. We do have the permission of the Bating Hollow Cottage condos, and then they would have to prepare a covenant to submit to the Office of the County Clerk, which would amend the condominium map. Which I spoke with Dick Ehlers, and that can be done by referencing the condominium map when they go to file the covenants. The applicant received Suffolk County Department of Health Services approval for a construction of a single-family residence. There was just one issue that I noted. The plan that's stamped by the health department says permit is good for construction of a residence with a maximum of 2 bedrooms. When you look at the architecturals, there's more than 2 bedrooms. But as I understand it, a septic system is designed for up to 4 bedrooms. So, I mean, it's just something they can either amend the site plan, or they can amend, they can get an amended approval from the Department of Health.
We did the health department, right?
Yep.
Good.
Oh, yeah, no, they've got health department approval. Again, we received letter from the planning commission that it was a matter of local determination. I have not received comments from the building department. It was basically a single-family residence. They didn't have much substance to it. And comments from the consulting engineer if needed.
Okay, so you're gonna speak to,
Yeah, I'll speak to Tom.
Tom?
I mean, did the board have any questions, anything to relay? I mean, like I said, it's straightforward. The only reason we're here is because of the precedents. And I do have a resolution to schedule a public hearing on this for this meeting.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Next item, excuse me, Stat Health, the old Pizza Hut on Route 58.
Good afternoon.
Oh.
Howdy. How you doing?
Richard, did the guy from Suffolk Cement ever contact you?
Yes, I had the contact.
He did? He was asking about it, so I told him to contact you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be the same stuff that we're proposing to match the.
Yeah.
We'll definitely see what he has.
Yeah, great.
Arrange that to be fine.
All right, so we're here with just a couple of, final ends for the Stat Health Pizza Hut conversion, vice versa. When Vinnie Gaudiello, myself, and Jeff Murphy, we did a site visit and looked at the paving in the parking lot. It wasn't in the best condition, to say the least. I'd spoken with the applicant, spoken with Vinnie. He had actually provided updated plans already. It basically includes a note that they're going to sweep the parking lot, resurface it. It's gonna be an overlay with a minimum compacted thickness of 1 inch, which will address, it'll revitalize the parking lot. and they're going to address some issues with a drainage structure on the property, just to bring it up to grade, to match with the paving. And then the fence along the rear property line. As I spoke with the applicant, staff, and I believe the board would like the fence to run from the the Roanoke Avenue intersection of the parcel all the way to the back to behind the Jiffy Lube property, which would, again, it would run the entire length of the Masonic Temple in the back, which, as was brought up at the public hearing, it's approximately 300 feet along that back, those two parcels. I believe Rick agreed to that.
No, at the public hearing, I agreed to do it to here, and that was acceptable to them.
Was that acceptable?
And afterwards, it came up that you want to take it all the way down. Now, like I talked today, is we don't have any lease on this property, so I'm gonna have to go across to where we have a lease to take care of this.
Isn't that part of another application that's pending right now?
No,
Behind it, where the temple and where he's saying he wants to end, and then other parcel begins.
That's the automotive thing?
Yeah, they're expanding.
No, so the Masonic Temple goes to about here.
Oh, okay.
Let's say this is
Okay.
the Jiffy Lube, just
Right,
hypothetically.
and then there's if
You've got
Kentucky Fried
Friendly's
Chicken,
here.
or
I'm
Friendly's,
sorry.
yeah.
Jiffy
One of-
Lube, KFC. The KFC
Right.
is where it's behind. So it's not behind Pizza Hut or Jiffy Lube.
That's the 300 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would go, so from here to
Yeah,
behind Jiffy Lube, which is the next parcel, that would be 300 feet. Beyond that is where we had that easement that we spoke about behind KFC, which is separate ownership.
So I think our discussion was, correct me if I'm wrong, was that it's the same parcel and the fence is in horrible shape, and we really wanted to see it done along that whole back parcel.
Yeah, I looked at it the other day, it's really bad. You know, this is our opportunity.
Back here, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Up here, the stockade fence behind Stat Health is fine. You know, which is, I just left there, so I just checked it myself. We don't have any problem doing this. We will do this if the owner of the property allows it. You know, I don't know how this is gonna be, because our lease ends here. And I understand that there's probably something going on with the way this was broken up that doesn't. So my commitment is, my client has no problem taking it back the full length of the Masonic Hall property. We just have to get permission from him. Now, he already
Is that
gave us
something-
permission to do the site plan, so I don't know if that would be covered under that.
Why wouldn't you want to improve the site?
Well, it's not a matter of whether he would want to approve the site. It's a certain point as to, you know, how much is my client going to spend to improve his property so that we can get our approval. You know, so this, you know, the paving alone is going to be a big chunk, which we didn't
It's
expect.
needed. It's needed.
Yes, okay.
So, I mean, I understand the expenses, but these
I-
are necessary things. It's not
Right, but it's-
extraordinary things we're asking for.
But the only thing I'm trying to say is that we're getting the bill for what the owner hasn't done, which is fine, and we're paying for it. Okay, he's getting his parking lot paid so that we can get an approval to move on to get our project done. This is also another thing. So what my client has to do is he's got to go back and negotiate with his landlord to find out who's going to pay for the additional costs. That's up to them. Our situation right now is we're in dire need to get started here. So we are going to agree to do the entire length of this fence all the way back to the end of the Masonic property. And my client will work out with the landlord whatever needs to be done to recoup some of the costs. That has nothing to do with planning. So we're in agreement to do everything you're
Okay,
asking.
what is the resolution state that we have today?
Resolution states, I think approximately 300 feet of black chain link fence extending to the property line.
And that's what you're going to work out with the owner?
We'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, it's my client's problem to work out who's going to recoup the cost for it. If he can recoup it, fine. If he can't, then he's going to eat it, he's going to move on.
Is it same length, the same height and same material?
Well, it's,
No, 6-foot-high chain link privacy fence.
6-foot high
And
chain
replace
link.
with a stockade.
It's going to look nicer. Look a lot nicer.
Is the Jiffy Lube, so the property you're enhancing, that's not yours, is Jiffy Lube?
Well, it's the same owner. Right. Bell Realty, I believe, owns all three parcels. It's just split up into 3 sections. Now, how that came about, I don't know. And
Because Jiffy Lube, or whoever it is ignored that property, that surface for quite a while.
Well, again, I don't think it's Jiffy Lube, it's
Whoever
the
it is.
landlord. It's the landlord that's collecting rent, it's not Jiffy Lube's property. They lease from the landlord, and it's the same thing that we're getting caught with here. We're gonna improve his property, he's gonna come out the beneficiary of this. But in order to move on, that's what we have to do.
The exit and entrance driveway of Jiffy Lube hasn't been repaired in, I don't know how long, and it's ugly. It's- And for years, this is a years situation.
They just did Friendlies, that was horrible too.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we could go that far.
Please don't hold me responsible for Jiffy Lube.
I don't
just
know about
noted.
the other one, but I've just noticed, I can see
Yeah,
it, my,
What's, this planter that you're gonna put in, what's the material?
Same as it's
What's
the
across the
masonry,
street?
same as across the street at the
Yeah, it
hospital.
looks
We're gonna
nice.
match the same
Okay.
wall.
I just wanna be sure.
Yeah, so that way it blends in with what's going on in the immediate area.
Have some spares in stock because you'll have to repair it.
Well, when they hit 30 inches of topsoil, that's about 15 feet wide, so they're gonna have a lot of repairs to do on their car too. So we'll make sure we get something that's standard off the shelf.
Reinforce it internally with steel and
Yeah.
Well-
concrete filled.
We'd like to slow them down.
So, yeah,
not
it's something
necessarily
that's a little
kill them.
forgiving. Okay, so those were the only two issues, right? And we'll take up the resolution towards the end.
Okay.
Yep, all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Next item, Jamesport Farm Brewery. They here? Yeah.
Hello.
Meeting today, you guys.
Not too bad yet.
Okay. I could bring the samples, I would, but
All right, so there was just a couple of questions that we wanted to get on the record before we do the final approval, because that is on for this meeting. On the side of the tasting room, there's a proposed, it says shipping container refrigerator unit. Just had questions as to how that's gonna be powered, like what are the details on that? Is that like a pre-manufactured, is it electrical powered, is it propane?
electrical powered with a cooling unit that's on the top of the unit.
And what does it look like?
This is a trailer?
Does it look
This
like
is
a?
trailer
This is
body.
a trailer,
It's
this
a
is a
It
trailer
looks
trailer.
like a trailer body?
Mhm.
All right.
It is a trailer body.
It's a reefer trailer?
It's a reefer trailer, that's exactly what
I know those.
Is it gonna be on a concrete slab, or is it just gonna be on the ground?
it's on the ground.
On the ground.
I have several containers all over the farm like this, so.
All right. There was just, and then since, apologize. Number of taps in the, that are actually in the brewery, did you have an idea on the number of taps that are
There are
gonna be there?
12 taps in the brew.
12 taps? Alright. And you're only gonna be selling local beer, stuff that you produce?
It's
on your farm?
almost primarily all our beer. Eventually, we will have cider, because we had an apple orchard proposed for the future. That takes a few years for the trees to grow before it can.
It gets up with-
Yeah, so, but yes, so basically, the way it works with our selections, we'll have some sort of anchor beers that we have all the time. So you'll have 6 to 8 of those, and then we have seasonal beers that come in and out during the summertime, and then the fall you have your Oktoberfest kind of beer. So that's, the other 4 will change to different seasonal beers as we go.
Why are we concerned with that?
Sounds like a
And
good reason to enjoy the
There's
Four
been,
Seasons.
I mean, there's been some other applications and similar uses in town that have somewhat been controversial.
Oh.
So I was advised.
It's going from 8 to 100 overnight.
Yeah, you know,
Just wanna reference.
what we didn't wanna see is, you know, all of a sudden 20 taps and having pitchers of Coors Light and, you know, it turning
Well,
into
I'm
a.
not allowed to sell that kind of beer, so.
See what happens when you don't drink beer?
Yeah. And not
Yep.
stating that's your intention, we were
Yep.
just kind of,
I
these
understand.
things have recently come to light in other applications, and we wanna try to get ahead of the issues.
Yep.
So, yeah, and as the, you know, as the sale of the beer is kind of subject to the farm stand review, which just states that 60% of the merchandise is gonna be produced on site, so, like you said, you're gonna be producing your own beer, having that on, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of the reason for having the brewery is to have another outlet for retail for our other farm products, like our pumpkins and our flowers and those sorts of things, so.
And that's fine.
Yeah, everything about this whole idea is to support the farm because we want to be able to sell value-added products rather than wholesale products, which we get very little money for, so.
All right. Yeah, those are the only
Okay.
couple of questions that we had.
Anybody else have questions?
No, we're gonna have your resolution up shortly.
Okay.
Today,
Great.
and seems like you're gonna get approval in record time.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, next item is Jonathan Perkins, Chapter 219 application to convert a single-story beach house.
Have the applicant's representatives coming out. It's just a
That's okay.
no, no.
You guys could just state your name, please, for the record.
Sure, Tom Trefaro. And Damon Scott, landscape architect.
Mr. Chairman, I know it's unusual that we bring these forward in a work session, but this is an unusual situation where the coastal erosion hazard line actually runs almost right through the center of the existing street. So any work done probably within the footprint of the existing residential home, it'd probably be a little bit easier, but there is some expansion here. So I've asked the applicant and his team, we had a meeting approximately a week ago. Haven't prepared a formal report from that or on the application because I wanted to have the board to be a little more educated and have an exchange here for some input. Because typically under Chapter 219 that would fall under this type of category for issuance, they would need to go through an evaluation of alternatives. And there are not many alternatives available for this particular site, so I've invited their team in to discuss that.
Thank you, Jeff. Good start. I'm Damon Scott, landscape architect. We're basically showing the house exactly, the back wall exactly where it is now. The coastal erosion line does come through the middle of the house. We're showing retaining walls on the back side to mitigate some of that steep slope and allow us to, prevent erosion. We're also requesting from the town to give us permission to do some removal of the plant material that's there, which is it's rampant, poison ivy and other species that have overrun the area. It's not comfortable walking down there. It's always being cut away, and it does cross the path at times in the summertime. So we're asking to cut that away and then leave the stumps so there's no erosion issues, and then to plant with native species for that area. We are suggesting 3 plants here and 1 here. They're not native, but they're Hollywood junipers, which do very well in this salt spray condition. So this would be relatively flat down here as it exists, but from this point up, it'd be less of a slope than it is now because we're showing 2 walls. This one would be 4 feet down from the existing elevation of the 30-foot elevation, and then it'd pitch 1 foot between the walls, and then it'd have another 4 foot. So we were taking basically 9 feet off of this slope, which makes it less steep. We're showing it as concrete block stacked wall with the geogrid of 8 feet deep, which is minimum required 8 feet. It has been suggested that we move that wall out a little more and do more geogrid, which we would stipulate to do.
It's 20 feet from the base of the bulkhead to the top of the house. That's what we're talking about, 22 feet. And I have that on the survey, the older survey, which I could show you.
The existing bulkhead at the the toe of the slope is in very good shape, and
Yeah, this is,
so it does
the
provide good
this is the
stability.
older survey, which shows actually a topo. And you can see, this is the bulkheading here, and to the top of the bluff, that's 4 feet up from the bulkheading, that's like 22 feet.
We're actually cutting the existing deck back approximately 4 feet also, so it's gonna help a little bit.
I have the new survey as well, this is the updated right
And
now.
The wall, the foundation wall of the existing house, again, is gonna stay exactly where it is.
This is exactly what's there now.
Damon, would
You
you
bring the deck back
also
4
cover
feet?
the
Yeah, this deck.
easterly property line and that retaining wall?
Yeah, this retaining wall? Yes.
Yes.
What we're doing is we're taking a retaining wall from the point of the neighboring house, and that we're following that retaining wall down the slope, and then we're stepping it with the existing grade, so. So it varies on the height. Generally, it's about 2 feet, but it could be a little more, a little less. But we're just following the existing grade, and we're stepping that wall along with it. And on top of that wall will be a solid fence to, prevent, just viewing of,
Privacy.
really.
So they're essentially boxing in the whole property on,
With the drainage, a
Three
lot of dry
sides.
wells, which would, right now, the house itself is creating a bit of a erosion hazard now, and this would even shore it up more.
That's all this
Like that.
cross-hatching.
That's part of the new
That's
house, sir.
new?
Yeah, this is the existing right here, existing, and that's gonna be the new. Some of these are like a little deck that wraps around, there's a door over here that you can walk over.
Gonna be expanded like this footprint?
Yes.
Boat driveway's not big enough.
That's the little one.
By
And
putting the retaining walls, honestly, the dry wells and everything else, it's gonna be much better than what it is right now. And that's what we want you to know. That's another big point of the meeting today. And that's why we hired a landscape architect to put the proper, planting in, to help with, retaining any kind of, erosion. So I think it's a great solution. Plus, we have septic system going in, so the more, we can't move this house really too much towards the front of the front because, driveways, garage, you have there's a lot of different situations, And that's why we're asking, let's leave it exactly where it is. We could build back, and it's gonna be a beautiful home, and the site's gonna be a lot better than what it is now, and for many, many years.
Do we require approved plans from a professional engineer to state that the, erosion mitigation measures are sufficient and adequate?
professional engineer or architect who's qualified primarily because of the structural integrity of the retaining
Structure,
walls?
yeah, just more for erosion.
We discussed the obvious alternative, which would be to slide the entire house back landward and try to bring it into conformance or more conformity with a coastal erosion hazard line. And it's obviously been there for a long time because the coastal erosion hazard line was drawn through, which may be an anomaly, may not be, because the bluff is seaward of where the house is. And I'm not so sure that actually moving it all back provides any better integrity than boxing it in with the retaining walls, especially because on the easterly side, it's a fairly steep slope running down to the adjacent property.
Where is it in relation to the other houses on that road? Like,
I have
See it,
that
you
right
can see
here.
it on the map here. One here,
Yeah.
there's one right here, and then there's one way back here.
So
But
it's
this,
pretty much in line with that one next door.
right, yep.
Well, but this drops off, you're saying, right?
Yes.
This drops
that
off, that's why we're
We have
putting the
pictures
retaining
there,
walls
too,
here.
if you wanna see those.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be beach access?
Right here.
The stairs, yeah,
The
going
stairs
down, they're
coming down
existing.
here. Yep.
They stay where
You
they
can
are.
see it on the color one a little bit better. You see the stairs coming down here.
If you guys wanna just flip through this, you can.
This is
That's
the
the-
neighboring house. you
Looking
know,
from the east?
Looking from the neighbor's house, from the east, across, looking west. So you can see, that's house, I'm standing in the neighbor's yard, And then this is looking down at the water, you see the drop-off is, there's a valley here, this goes down approximately 20 feet and comes back up. And then
So,
you
but-
see here, I'm standing in the neighbor's lawn area, which is approximately here. And you can see the valley kind of hidden there because of the plants, but this does drop down significantly.
But that's the existing house now, right? You're
That's
going
his-
further north.
Yeah, that's this house. and-
But the
Staying in the same exact spot.
the
right there, we're not
foundation
moving.
isn't encroaching on the drop, it's going right to the edge of the,
So he's gonna have the same views.
yeah.
As a matter of fact, we're cutting the deck back a little bit, so he'll have better views.
Let me see if I can show you.
Yeah, this is 4 feet
I could
back
show you
from
what
that
I'm
wall.
saying.
But the house is extended more, right?
No,
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 no.
the back
This-
wall
This
stays
wall right here
exactly.
is existing, so you can see it here too. This is the existing house right here, and that's existing house, that's
Oh,
a
it's
deck.
staying, okay.
Exactly, so that
Okay.
wall right there, not moving at all. You know, so we're keeping that, you know, we're not moving it out closer to the water.
This plan
I knew that would be a
This plan
concern.
doesn't show the access.
This is the
You
right
have
side.
it, so-
This is,
Right.
what I'm showing here, this is all existing.
Yeah.
So we're not really changing.
Oh, okay, so you know it.
Addressing the
No, but
stones
just
that are there.
To show
Nice
that everything's
location.
there. that-
Right,
that
if
there
this
is.
is gonna be approved,
just
you
pulling
wanna
that
show it on here.
Okay.
Landward.
Because 20 years from now,
Sanitary
you
system.
look at this,
Here.
we'll say that was never there.
Exactly,
Mhm.
no problem.
This is kind of like more of a defining picture. This is the wall, and there's the drop-off. So in the house, you can't see,
That's
it's right
brick.
here. So the new foundation is gonna go right on, just before that wall. So it's not actually going down, it's not
This
encroaching
is
into.
existing.
Come down here.
Is that the property line of that wall?
Property line's over where the fence is, 20 feet out from here. So they were gonna step, so you can see that's a good shot of it.
Here's the toe of the slope with the bulkhead.
Oh, yeah, here.
This is the east wall that drops off. That I was concerned with, but they're gonna box
Oh,
that
the
in
existing,
with
it's
a
not a
retaining
stairway,
wall.
it's steps.
Right, steps, yeah.
And you're not gonna change those?
So the ground
We're
level
gonna adjust them to
looking
make
at
them
it,
straight,
Right,
other than that,
just
'cause right now they curve at the top.
that's the view from their front deck.
All the way down, you gonna do it?
That's
No,
the
this is existing and we're not touching it.
Right.
And this is
Still
just,
This is,
Show
this
it
is the,
on.
they have it as
I would
waiting
just
room,
show it
this
on
is
here.
pretty much gonna design here.
these are gonna just be stepping
Yeah, I
stones
don't know
through
why
that.
they're waiting
that
for
wall.
Jamesport, actually.
Yeah.
That's the price of living up there.
It's in Jamesport on
Further
South
down.
Shore,
Oh,
not
yeah?
high here.
Which way?
Oh, okay. Yeah, just come up the hill there, it's like right there.
I need it.
Jeff, is this subject to a public hearing?
Yeah, they are.
Not really subject to a hearing other than just the normal comment period from when a resolution is put together. But I'll write a report. You had asked for that question about whether or not you wanted to see more detail in erosion or an erosion report.
Well, just that it's certified by a professional that it's adequate to mitigate the erosion.
Okay.
Is that something a landscape architect could do?
Yeah, you said that, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you
I
something.
would
Certified
think.
architect with a stamp?
I'm a landscape architect.
If
Above the
you have
steps,
a
yes.
stamp.
Yeah, I think,
This bulkhead,
Licensed, yes.
sure.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Go ahead, sir.
does it extend in either direction?
What do you mean,
The existing, this existing bulkhead?
No.
Show them that, show them,
Yeah, I have a
you got
picture
your
of
nice
it.
picture of the
Is
bulkhead.
it just ends on the property? Okay.
The,
Yeah, it doesn't hook up
no,
anybody on the
no,
base?
no.
And how long has that been there?
Since early 70s, the bulkhead.
It's really
The
good
whole,
You're not getting erosion around?
no
No,
erosion.
you gotta look at, yeah, the pictures. pretty
Yeah,
good.
'Cause that's one of
the whole strip has been bulkheaded since the early
They're gonna be
70s, I
redoing
think.
this area.
I
that's
have
why.
letters here pulling this out, right? It's
Yeah,
non-conforming.
This stays, but the sand gets washed out of that side. And you can't do anything about it, 'cause it's not your property.
Right.
That's, yeah,
Right, that's the existing
The
bulkhead.
bulkhead's a saving grace.
really good shape.
It really is. And it's a low bluff, it's the only area,
You have it too?
like, we could
Yeah,
find.
well, there's the view up from,
And I'm
Sea
still
level
young enough to
back
get down.
up.
I just had my knee replaced, but.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm going from there.
You live there?
Too bad.
No, this is, we're going to live there.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
We live
No.
in Baiting Hollow now.
But I don't, you're not gonna get any runoff,
We'll,
because we got drainage in
Is
here.
the property
both
accessible
sides
to
over
look
there.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
804 Sound Shore, it's got
I
big gates
walk
in the
along
front.
it.
Go absolutely access it. You
Yes,
go in and
it
it's
is.
on.
But it's all
It's the wrong
wild, yeah.
species, I
Yeah,
understand
exactly.
that, but that's what's holding everything together.
Right.
Well, that's why we say we wouldn't remove any of the stumps, you know, we just cut it, you know, and cut it flush at grade, and then plant over it, and then we'd have
But I
to
think a
have
20-foot,
maintenance.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think a 20-foot hill with
Walls,
landscape
retaining
walls
walls, right.
will completely satisfy any erosion with plantings in there. Because it's not like 80 feet with no bulkhead holding it in.
You see, when they built that originally back then, they
Yeah.
sunk the telephone poles down, that's
saw
why it
that.
stays there.
Right.
Now you can't do that.
No.
They won't let you do it.
Sure, you're
We
And
tried,
honest-
we had a beach erosion problem, and they wouldn't let us put them in, and I said, you're just waiting if another storm, take them out.
Yeah, I know.
A month later, another storm, they
Yeah.
stopped the construction, said, now can we put in poles? Nope.
Really?
Back in, 8x8s, what are you kidding me?
And these
Kidding me?
bulkheading poles,
Put in a
I'm-
telephone
I
pole,
kid
put
you
it in there,
not,
you know
they're
what,
this
it's there
big.
forever. That's
They're
why
not
that's
the
there.
little ones, these are like this.
Check with the
Tremendous.
need down there.
Yeah.
They're
And the
insane.
fact that the
They're
whole thing is
insane.
that
You know,
way,
they say that it's
it's,
too
uh,
much because of the treatment.
Tremendously helps.
Whatever, I'm not allowed to.
Jeff,
say.
you visit these?
Yes, I always go out. I've been to this one.
You're the Joe Hole.
But you do it once and you
Pardon?
never
You're
have
the
to do
Joe
it again.
Hole, right?
Yes. And we had just recently had done the property to the west for drainage structures that went in up there, which is almost even, just the way the bluff line cuts back in and the way they stayed through the coastal erosion hazard line. It impacts this is the first time we've come across one where it actually goes through the existing house.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything in our code
I wouldn't be surprised
as an
if the
exemption.
house to the west goes through that house too.
It does
Yeah.
appear like.
I don't know how they
I know,
actually
I-
came
I
up with
agree.
that line, but.
Okay, anything else?
No, I'm fine. Put together a report.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
You're gonna take care of it? Got 10 nice fish.
Yes, I'll have some more questions.
Great. By,
Thank you, appreciate it.
right outside, for the Grady dealership. You know, something over there, you know where. You would wanna go there.
Yep, what we got here?
Yeah, you tell them you want to. I have Dawn doing, you know, County Bay Marina, they're doing my work. So, leave it from there and bring out the green board, so. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
With Stat Health, Boyd Barner, I think, I want to talk to Jeff tomorrow, because he's off, find a way to clarify how to actually describe where we want to run the fence to. Like if I specifically call out.
We already agreed, you have it in there though.
Oh, we have it on the record that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, 300 feet east on the southern
I
property.
figured
He's
just.
gonna negotiate it on his end.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, before we vote on the resolutions, does anyone from the public want to comment on any of the resolutions? Any comments from the public on the resolutions? Okay, resolution
I'll
one.
move resolution number 42, which sets a public hearing for Little Flower minor subdivision.
Second motion.
A motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 42, Little Flower Children's Subdivision, scheduled public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Resolution is approved. Number 2,
Make a motion that we move resolution number 43 of the Riverhead Planning Board for North Fork Auto Body, declaring a negative deck. So moved.
Second?
motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 43 for North Fork Auto Body, preliminary approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved.
I'll move Resolution 44, Jamesport Farm Brewery. Resolution granting final approval for site plan application, convert 3,200 square feet into a barn, brewery, and tasting room, and construct parking, lighting, and landscaping.
Second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 44, Jamesport Farm Brewery for final approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved.
I'll move resolution 45 for Dune Warehouse to assume the, excuse me, lead agency, issue a negative declaration on the secret, and to grant the preliminary approval for the site plan application to construct a 5,000 square foot warehouse storage building. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 45 for Fadoon Warehouse for preliminary approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll do-
Opposed? Resolution is approved.
I'll do resolution 46 for Bailey Hall condominiums, number 23. Schedule a public hearing on the site plan application to demolish an existing cottage and construct a new 1,200-foot residence.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 46, Bating Hollow Cottage Condominium 23. Schedule a public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution is approved. Number 6.
I'll move resolution 47, Popeyes Restaurant, to assume lead agency, issue a negative declaration and grant a preliminary approval for a site plan application to construct a 2,265 square foot fast food restaurant and related site improvements. So moved.
Second motion?
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 47 for Popeyes Restaurant preliminary approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Number 7.
I'll move 40, resolution 48, 452 Main Road in Aquabog. Resolution to schedule a public hearing for July 6th, 2017 on the site plan application to renovate a 3,500 square foot, two-story, single-family house with a basement into a first-story restaurant with indoor and outdoor seating.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 48 for 452 Main Road to schedule a public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved.
Move resolution number 49 of the Red Planning Board for a public hearing for a preliminary major residential subdivision of Caulfield Farm. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 49 for Halfold Farm residential subdivision to schedule a public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Just a question. When? Is it for June?
No, it's July
July-
6th.
July 6th.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's adopted.
I'll
Number
move
9.
resolution 50 for Stat Health to classify the action for the secret purposes and to grant administrative site plan approval for the site application to change the property use from an existing Pizza Hut to a Stat Health. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 50 for Stat Health for administrative site plan approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Okay, do we have any comments from the public on any matter in front of the planning board you wish to address? No comments from the public? Minutes from May 4th.
Make a motion that we move the minutes of the Riverhead Planning Board for the date of May 4th, 2017.
Second.
So moved.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of May 4th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next meeting will be June 1st at 7 PM. And motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, that was faster than I thought.
Yeah, at the end, we ran.
I thought we were gonna be here for hours.
We got a green light.
What are you doing here, Tom?
Doing something up there.
Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. How's everything? Good.
Just come in to cool off.
Yeah.